Hello and welcome, friends. We're going to start. We can either start on our knees or sitting cross-legged, whichever feels the most comfortable for you. I'm going to stretch out my feet today a little bit. So I'm going to sit on my knees. I'm going to tuck my tail and take a few big, deep breaths in. Engage the core, lift the heart, pull those shoulders down. And breathe in and out. Good. And then inhale, let's lift our hands up to the sky. Open up those fingers, wiggle them around a little bit, drop the shoulders. And then exhale, let's take those hands over to the right. We can drop the right hand to the floor, reaching up and over with the left, opening up that left side of the body. Ooh. Good, and inhaling back up to the sky, and then exhaling over to the other side. Allow that left hand to rest. Right hand reaches up and over. Good, and inhaling up. And now exhale, little tiny, tiny back bend. Just lift the chest a little bit, open up the arms into like a little cactus. Good, and then inhaling up. And then again, exhaling, tiny hint of a back bend. Good, and inhaling up, straightening that back. Exhaling again. And inhaling up. And now we're just going to bring those arms around in front of us, give ourselves a little hug. We'll round in the spine a little bit. And back to a neutral spine. Hands can come up to the sky. And then exhaling them back down to our knees or our thighs. A couple of big deep breaths here. Now we'll just work a little bit in our neck. So just moving our chin over to one shoulder and then around to the other shoulder. Just checking what's going on either side, gently moving. Not forcing us to go any further than our body wants to do. Good. Let's do one more to each side. Good. And then back to the center. Inhale, let's lift the nose. And exhale, lower the chin. Inhaling up. And exhaling down. Moving gently. Get the neck all lubed up. One more to the sky. And then lowering down. Let's keep our chin down to our chest. Let that neck open up behind us. And then we're just going to draw a smile with our chin along our collarbone. So moving our head over toward one shoulder, keeping the head lowering down. And then around to the other shoulder. And around. Using that breath to keep the shoulders relaxed. Okay, let's do again one more to each side. And then back to the center, and then we'll just slowly raise our head to the center. We'll bring our arms out in front of us like we want to reach for something. Open up those fingers. We can wiggle them again. And now what we're going to do is we're going to cross this left arm over the right arm. We're going to bring those hands all the way around. Hopefully we can get like fingertips to palms or palm to palm. Little shoulder stretch here. Good. Let's do one more breath. Inhale. Exhale, drop those shoulders. And then we'll gently unwind. We'll just bring those arms back behind us. Open up the chest. Good. And then reaching forward. And then we'll take that right arm, cross over the left. Left hand comes all the way around. Hopefully we can touch those hands, or even if we're just back of the hands, but we're getting a little bit of a twist, we're doing what we can, relaxing those shoulders away from our ears, and then moving the hands away from our face. One more breath. And we'll gently unwind. And we'll just bring those arms back behind us again. Open up the chest. Get those shoulders going the other direction. Good. And then we'll just bring them forward. We can shake them out a little bit. Then we'll place our hands on our mats and we'll come onto our hands and our knees, opening those fingers nice and wide. We can tuck those toes if we've been on our knees. Flex the feet a little bit. And then shoulders are over our wrists, knees are over our hips. We tuck that tail just a little bit, open up that back. Press in to our hands, opening up the shoulders behind us, lengthening all the way from our tail to the top of our head. Good. And then on our next exhale, we'll round, tuck the chin, tuck the tail into a cat, lifting that spine up toward the sky. And then inhale, we'll drop the tummy, lift the heart into our cow, exhaling cat. And inhaling cow. And moving with our breath, exhaling, we round and lift that spine. Inhaling, dropping the tummy, lifting the heart and arching in the spine. Exhaling cat. Inhaling cow. Good, let's do one more of each. And then we'll meet in a neutral spine here. We'll soften the feet behind us and we'll come back to a child's pose. Good, inhaling, coming back up to our tabletop. We'll do a little thread the needle now. So right hand will stay on the floor. We'll inhale, lift the left hand up to the sky. And then when we're ready, we'll just thread that buddy all the way through, placing that left shoulder down onto our mats. We can rest our head and then bring our focus to our hips. We'll want to shift over toward the right. We're going to bring those hips back over our knees. And take the spine into our, or take the twist into our spine as opposed to into our hips. Reaching that left hand underneath The right hand can be on the floor. It can reach out in front of us here, or we can place that buddy right on top of its friend. Help open up those shoulders. And then right hand will find our mats. We'll gently unwind and we'll come to a child's pose for one full breath. Big inhale, big exhale. And then we'll come on up to our tabletop. We'll work on over to the other side. So inhale, bring that right hand up to the sky. And then exhale, threading it all the way through. Shoulder and head can find our mat. Becoming aware of where our hips are in relationship to the knees. And then gently we'll unwind and come back to our child pose one more time. And let's inhale up to our tabletop again. Turn around here. We're going to bring this right leg forward into a baby lunge. Just wiggle our way into it. Wake our hips up a little bit. Good. And now we're going to begin to walk our hands around to the left. We're going to swing that left foot back behind us. Right leg is going to be out long. So we're in like a bit of a side lunge here. Hands are underneath of our shoulders. Just going to hang out here for a breath or two. And then inhale, we'll come all the way up. Hips are stacked over this left knee. Hands come up high for gate. Pressing that right foot down into the mat, tucking the tail. We're lengthening all the way up to our fingertips. And then exhale, we'll just sway our arms over toward the right. We can lower that hand down again, much like what we did earlier. Good. Inhaling up. And then again, swaying those hands over toward the right. And now we're going to turn toward that right leg. Toes can point up toward the sky. And then for here in our little half split, our hands can come to our thigh. If we've got a block, we can place our hands on our shins or to the floor. Good. And then we'll begin to bend that right knee, walk our hands forward, and we'll come into that baby lunge again. Stepping back, finding our child's pose. Take one full breath here. And then inhale up, and we'll bring that left leg forward, and we'll start the process all over again. So sinking down into that lunge. It doesn't have to be a championship lunge. It's a warm-up lunge. Good. And then walking our hands around to the right, working our way into that side lunge. So the left leg is out long, pressing the outside of our foot into our mats. Hands are underneath of our shoulders. Our hips are over this right knee. And then when we're ready, inhaling all the way up to gate. Making ourselves nice and flat here, nice and flat behind us. Good, tall. And then let's sway those arms over to the left. Try not to turn our shoulders quite yet. We'll do that here in a second. Reaching up and over with that right hand. Good. Inhaling up. And then again, swaying those hands over to the side. And now let's turn those shoulders, lift the toes, and work our way into our half split. So again, hands can come to the thigh as we work into that fold. We can crawl our way down. So we bring the chest forward, tail is pointing back behind us. Good. And then bending that left knee, hands can find the floor. Good. And then we'll step back, child's pose, sinking those hips back all the way over our heels. Press those fingers into the floor and just even push our hips back even further. Get a nice round in that low spine. Good. And now let's tuck our toes underneath of our hips. Arms are out in front of us, pressing into each of those fingers, and then begin to spiral those arms, turning the shoulders so that the bend in our elbows begin to point up toward the sky as opposed to into the inside. Pulling the shoulders back, press into those toes, press into the hands, and then begin to lift the hips. We'll pedal the feet. We'll wiggle our tails, and we'll begin to settle our way into a downward facing dog. Good. Let's get to moving around here. Nothing crazy, but let's lift up that right leg, three-legged dog. And we'll step forward into a long lunge here. If at any time we need to drop that back knee, please feel free to do so. Settle into that lunge. Begin to find our strength in our core and in our legs. And then inhale, high lunge. Good. Let's take that right arm back, left arm forward for a little twist. Beautiful. Inhale back to the center. Good. Hands come back down. We're going to hop a little bit forward with that back leg. And we're going to straighten the right leg for pyramid pose. So if we need to come up to that thigh, we're pulling the left hip forward, right hip back. Good. Bending that right knee, hands find the floor. We'll step back into that full lunge. And now let's inhale up and open up to warrior two. Good. Let's lengthen that right knee, sass our hips back behind us, reaching forward, and we'll work our way into triangle. Good. And then both hands come down, find our lunge. Good. Let's step back, three-legged dog. Let's open up that hip. We'll kick ourselves in the bum. We can even look underneath that right arm. Open up. And then when we're ready, we're going to bring that knee back into our chest, round in the spine, and we'll place that knee behind the right wrist for pigeon. We won't be staying here for a whole lot, but feel free to come down to the elbows if you would like. Let's do 2 more breaths here. One last big exhale. Good. Help ourselves back up to our hands if we are not already there. We'll tuck that left foot back behind us and we'll step back for downward facing dog. Pedal that out. Good. And now let's inhale forward into our plank. Plank can be on our toes, on our knees. Good strong plank here. Good. As we exhale, our chests come forward, our elbows go back, our tummies stay with the rest of our body as we lower all the way down. Good. Hands are underneath of our shoulders. We soften our feet. Inhale, we can come to a cobra or to an upward facing dog. We'll tuck those toes. We'll lift our hips. We'll press backwards into a downward facing dog. Good. Let's lift up that left leg. We'll step forward into our lunge. Good. Again, sinking down, finding our lunge. Connect with our mats, with the earth. Inhale, high lunge. Good. Let's twist to the left. Left hand goes back, right hand goes forward. And back up to the top. And then exhale those hands back down to our mats. Little step forward with that right foot as we work our way into pyramid pose. So straightening that left, pulling the right hip forward so that everything is facing the same direction. And then we can walk our way down from our thigh to our shin, to our toes, to the mat or our block. do one more breath here. Good, and then we'll bend that left knee. We'll step back with the right, find our lunge again. When we're ready, dropping that right heel and coming up to warrior two. Good, let's lengthen in that left leg. We'll sass those hips back behind us, reaching with the fingers forward, lengthening all the way from our hip into our armpit, and then we can drop that left arm, raise the right, open up, and then begin to lift inside the thighs. Good, and then bending that left knee, hands find the floor, back into our lunge. Let's step back, three-legged dog. Good, kicking ourselves in the bum, opening up to the left with our hips. And then bringing that knee into our chest, rounding in the spine as we come forward, and we'll place that knee behind the left wrist, flexing the foot in the front, straightening the foot in the back, making sure that we're turning so that the kneecap is pointing down in that right leg. We're pulling the right hip forward, left hip back. There's a lot of stuff going on here. Sinking those hips down. We're breathing. Do about 5 big breaths here. Last one, big inhale. Let's stay for that exhale. Really relax and sink. And then coming on up to our hands if we're not already there, tucking the toe back behind us, stepping all the way back. You can wiggle that buddy out and then find our downward facing dog. Begin to press those heels a little bit further down into the mat without sacrificing our straight backs. Long backs, lifting those hips, and then gently begin to press those heels a little bit further down. Good, let's inhale forward into a plank. Good, strong plank here. Good, exhale, lowering down. And inhale to our choice of back bend. Good, and now let's lower all the way back down to our tummies. So we're all in the same place. Right here, let's tuck the toes, activate those glutes in our thighs, which will lift them up off of the ground. We're pressing into our hands underneath of our shoulders. We're gonna press straight back up to our plank. Very good. And now from here, we're gonna work a little side plank. So if we need, we can always drop a knee, but we'll keep everything on our left hand. We're gonna stack those feet, lift up the right, open up to the right for side plank on this side. And like I said, if we need, we can always drop the knee. We don't like stacking our feet. We can like just place them one in front of the other, but we're lifting those hips. Good, opening up the chest. And exhale, let's come back down. Let's try the other side. Everything goes to the right hand. Lifting the left, reaching, lifting those hips, opening up the shoulders. And slowly we come back down to our plank. And now let's press back downward facing dog. Good. Keeping those tails working back behind us, let's slowly walk those hands closer and closer. Tiny baby steps toward those heels. When we can't keep those legs long anymore, we can definitely bend the knees as we come back to a forward fold right here. Let those hands have a rest. We can stretch those wrists and the fingers. Good. And now let's all bend our knees so that our tummies meet our thighs. We can even hug around those knees behind us. Drop the head, and then we can begin to lengthen in those legs ever so slightly. And you'll feel a real good stretch in those hamstrings. Good. And then bend the knees again. We can release our arms, and we'll slowly round our way up. Our chin should be the last thing that raises. Pull the shoulders back. Reach down with our fingers, and we find ourselves in Tadasana. Good. Stay here for another big breath. Good. We'll slowly open our eyes if we would like, bringing those hands to prayer at our hearts. We're going to shift our weight so everything's on this left leg. We're going to turn the right knee out to the side. We're tucking the tail so this hip is nice and active on the left side. And we begin to lift that heel up off the floor on the right. We can place it onto our shin. We're going to miss the knee, and we can come up to inside the thigh. Find where we're at. Bringing those hips into the equation. So our hip is a ball and socket joint. Let's see if we can detach them just a little bit so that they're nice and strong instead of we're going bone on bone here. We're pressing the left thigh into the foot into the thigh. If we're happy here, we stay here. If we would like to give our tree branches, open up those fingers and the arms. We want to test our balance in our core. We can sway in the breeze. And if it gets too windy and our tree begins to fall down, it's totally okay. We'll just build that tree back up again. Let's do one more big breath here. Good. Bringing those hands back to our hearts. We'll gently lower the leg down, shake it out. Good. And then we find Tadasana again. It's always good to start still. Strong. We're growing out of this right leg, shifting all of the weight onto that right foot. We open up the knee and we begin to climb. We don't have to just jump right in there if we don't want to. We can climb. Feel what it's like for a breath. Climb. Let your tree grow however it likes. Trees come in all shapes and sizes. Just channel our little Bob Ross here with some happy trees. One more breath. And bring those hands back to our hearts. We'll gently release the left leg. And we'll find ourselves both feet on the ground. Hands will stay at our hearts, and we're just going to open our feet, heel toe, a little bit wider than our hips. And then we'll slowly lower down into a low squat. Bringing those knees to the elbows inside the knees, lifting the heart, sinking the bum down low. Good, and let's lay those hands down onto our mats. Walk forward, and we'll come onto our knees, and almost as if we came full circle, back to our knees, sitting down onto our heels. Good, and now our hands will go back behind us. Tuck the tail, and we can begin to lift one knee up off of the floor, keeping the foot down. Stretch out that foot a little bit. We can lift up the other knee. And then we can see about lifting both knees. Now we can keep our hands here, or if we would like to try some balance, place our hands on our thighs, or even reach out in front, boat style. Keeping the back nice and straight and strong. Good, and now let's lower those knees down. We'll flex our feet. Come back into a little child's pose. Get those feet flexed. Good. We'll soften them one more time. Hands will come back behind us, pulling the shoulders back, tucking the tail, and let's begin to lift our hips up toward the sky, pulling those shoulders back, squeezing the knees together. That's the tough part. Tuck, lift. We can let the head droop back a little bit. One more breath. And then we'll lower those butts back down, lift the hands. We'll swish the feet over to one side, and we'll come onto our bottoms. Legs are out in front of us. We can give them a little wiggle if we'd like. I'll do a forward fold here. So let's bring those legs together. We'll walk our butts back behind us to encourage ourselves to come forward. We can walk our way down. We can reach. We've got a strap or a towel. Use that. We'll just bring that chest towards our toes. Connecting our low belly to the upper thigh. We slowly lower our way down. And again, if we need, we can bend those knees to get that connection, to encourage that hip tilt, and then slowly begin to lengthen those legs. And now let's drop the head round in the back. And we'll slowly walk our way up. Good. Let's bend those knees. And we're going to go into what's called cow face pose. So we're going to tuck that right leg underneath of us. We're going to cross the left knee to knee as best we can, stacking those knees. And then this left hip is going to want to come up nice and high. And let's just encourage it back down toward the floor. And we'll sit here for just a couple of breaths before we add to it. Good. And now let's raise the right hand. We're going to bend it like we're trying to scratch our back. Our left hand can help bring that elbow up toward the sky. If this is where we're at today, cool, this works. If we would like, we can reach back behind with the left and see if we can grab our fingers together. If we have that strap or towel again, it's a great time to use it. But in our enthusiasm to get our hands together, if we're pushing our head forward, we're kind of missing some of the point. So this might be where we're at today. It's definitely where I'm at today. And now from here, if you would like, we can do a little fold forward. If we don't like it, we come back up. And we'll slowly come forward, up. We'll release those arms. We can even rock back so we can unwind those legs. Give them a little wiggle and a stretch. You can even do little windshield wipers if we would like. And then when we're ready, we'll go over to the other side. So we'll tuck that left leg. We'll cross the right over the top of the left. We'll get those hips and legs situated, letting that right hip come back down toward our mats. Bringing those knees as close to crossed over the top of each other as we can. We can kind of play with where our feet are. If they're out wider, we're going to get more of a lever action, rotation in our hips. Once we get settled, we'll take a couple of breaths. And then we'll lift that left hand up to the sky. We'll bend it like we want to scratch our back. We'll help it out with the right. If we would like, we can try and find our fingers. And if we like, we can also just do a little forward fold over those knees. Or we unwind and we just have a rest. That's fine too. Raising up. We'll release those arms. Little jazz hands before we unwind our legs. Give them a little wiggle. And now, since we went one way with them, let's go the other way. And we'll bring the soles of our feet together. Make those knees nice and wide. We can hold our feet or our ankles. Grow nice and tall. And now use that breath to let your hips relax. We want so badly to like hold ourselves up because subconsciously we might be afraid. That's a great time to just let go. Let those hips relax and open. Releasing, bringing those knees together. And now we get to roll up into our ball and rock back onto our backs. We can do our little massage here, rocking forward and backward. We can go side to side. If we want, we can even roll around in those hips. Good. And now we're just going to lay that left leg nice and long and hug the right knee into our chest. Releasing the pressure and just guiding that right knee all the way across to the left side for a spinal twist here. Both shoulders are soft into our mats. Our arms can be out into a T or a droopy T, hands down a little bit closer to our hips if we like. Or we can use that left arm to help guide the knee, not force it, but encourage it to stay in place. And we'll unwind, bring both knees in, roll up into our little ball. And then we'll extend that right leg nice and long. Hold on to that left shin. Hug the knee and leg into our chest. Relax the shoulders. And then we'll just guide that knee over to the right. And then gently unwind, bringing our knees into our chest. Again, finding our egg. And now opening up those knees, we'll bring the elbows inside, holding the pinky toes of our feet, and we'll relax our way into dead bug. Releasing the feet, letting them come all the way up to the sky. Hands will reach up to the sky. Last little wiggle with our fingers and our toes. Point and flex and move around in those ankles and wrists. Big inhale, reach. Exhale, slowly, slowly, slowly. Lowering those hands above our heads. Our feet find their way down below our hips. We make ourselves nice and long. One big stretch here. And then exhale, finding our Shavasana. Close our eyes. Begin to relax throughout our entire body. All the tiny little muscles in our face, our jaw, necks and shoulders, our arms, our hands, our fingers. Our backs, our hips, our thighs, our knees, our calves, ankles, our feet, our toes. Begin to deepen our breath. Then gently wiggle our fingers and our toes. We begin to become aware of our bodies again. Come back into our space. Let's make sure we give our body what it needs right now. A little stretch or a wiggle. Bring our knees into our chest. We'll roll over onto one side. We'll gently help ourselves up to seated. We inhale our hands up to the sky, bringing them together at the top, and exhaling them down to our hearts. With gratitude, giving thanks to us for all of the gifts that we just gave ourselves. It is my honor and pleasure to help you through your practice today. I wish you a very, very happy rest of your day and the rest of your week. Make sure that we err on the side of kindness towards ourselves and others that we interact with. The light and the divine in me recognizes and respects the light and the divine in each of you. And when we are together, whether physically or virtually, we are one. Namaste.